Good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for clicking on the video. My name is Brian Alsruhe, and this is actually the 5th Barbells and Bushcraft video, so that's really, really cool, and that would not have been possible without all of your support, so I do really, really want to thank you guys on some of these different type of videos here on my channel. That bed, that friction bed, that survival bed is actually, you're probably going to see it again, not that particular one, but that particular style of bed, because for one of these upcoming videos, I want to do a solo overnight, and I would like to use that structure to sleep on. However, I didn't know if I could make it yet, and I didn't want to get out on an overnight and then not be able to make it. So that was practice, but you guys got a little sneak peek for those of you who are going to check it out. Now, the rest of this video is going to be nothing more than me talking to you guys about the tools and answering a couple questions, because I've gotten so many comments and DMs and emails just asking about the tools that I'm using. Now, before I get in this, guys, realize that I've been doing this for a very short amount of time, so I haven't used any of these tools extensively. They haven't been that beat up. Like, a few have, but I'll talk about that as I get there. Also, guys, I am a brand new individual of this. All that I'm doing is trying to share my experience of learning this bushcraft stuff with you guys. So I'm hoping that there are some individuals watching this channel that are more advanced in this stuff than I am, and they can give me some recommendations down in the comment section, and as well as kind of steer you guys more towards the better stuff, so you don't waste money on things that aren't that good, because maybe some things I'm going to show you here aren't that good and I just don't know. So just know that I am going into this as like a beginner. I'm a novice. I have no idea what I'm talking about. I have no idea what I'm doing, but there are so many questions, and for those of you who did want to get started the same way that I did and you couldn't find those answers, I'm just going to give you what I have. And you're going to have to give me a minute because it is a hot one. All right, so let's start out with the biggest things first, all right? So this you guys saw in my bacon video. This is actually a splitting maul that I believe my grandfather, it was either my uncle or my grandfather, actually made this. It is a big, long, heavy piece of rebar with a big, heavy splitting maul head. And this is my favorite blunt force instrument. It is absolutely amazing. It's been passed down from my grandfather to my dad, from my dad to me. It's just, it's a really, really cool tool, and I use it. You guys saw it of me splitting wood. Now, when I was a small child, you guys see me going nuts with a sledgehammer and stuff in the gym, and a lot of people want to know how I built that kind of speed and that type of explosiveness. And when I was a small child, my dad had bought me a small splitting maul so that when he was splitting wood, I could be beside him kind of splitting it with him, and it was probably like a 4-pound head with a little wooden handle, and I got to use that from the ages of probably like, literally probably like 5 through probably like 7. And then at some point I broke that wooden handle, and then it was no more, and now it was time for me to use the big boy maul with my dad. And so literally from like the age of like 8, I was trying to swing this thing. Now I was choked up doing a lot of dumb things. It probably wasn't the safest thing in the world. However, it made me ridiculously strong from a very young age. So I have this thing to thank for a lot of reasons why some of you watch this channel. Second axe that some of you will see me splitting wood with is actually this Husky kind of beater axe. This is not a great axe, guys. This isn't something that I recommend people buy. It's just something that I picked up at Home Depot at my old house to use around the house to do some other things. This might be good for doing some roots and some things like that right now, but this is not a nice axe as far as bushcraft goes. Also, this isn't really that much of an axe. If you look at it, it has kind of a flailed out cheek, so it is more of like a splitting maul in some ways, at least as far as I know. Like I said, I don't know a whole lot, but that's why I mainly use this for splitting. I don't really take this into the woods with me anymore, because when I did on a video, you guys actually reached out and told me a good recommendation to get, and that was I'm sorry, really fast, this thing will run you about $34. Just to let you know, that's pretty standard for a cheap beater axe. But like I said, on the recommendations in the comments, some people told me that I should go with a Gransford Brook or a Wettlings axe. And so what I actually went with is a Gransford Brook's Forest axe. Now this will run you a good bit more. This is about $200. However, if you treat it correctly, this is the last axe that you'll ever need to buy in your life. Now, I went with a forest axe because this is what I want to carry into the woods with me to fell a couple of standing dead trees and just do some basic splitting and stuff like that, but it's also not too long, so it's not so cumbersome, so I can't hike far distances without it. And because I'm learning a lot of my stuff from Dave Canterbury's books. For those of you who don't know, I don't really have internet access on a regular basis, so I get a lot of this knowledge from these books, and I can't recommend these enough. But one thing that I've seen him do is burn the back of his axe handle with measurements. So I actually did the same thing, and that helps me out a lot with my timber framing. Now, of course, the other axe type of implement that I get a ton of questions about is this CRKT Tomahawk, which will run you about $40. Now, a lot of people want to know why I went with a Tomahawk instead of a standard hatchet, and I actually have an extra one over here for other purposes I'll talk about later. However, the reason why is because if you have a Tomahawk, it actually can slide out, and you can replace the head of this to use it as a wedge for splitting large logs, almost as if you were going to have something like this, except it is a lot lighter and a lot less cumbersome. So you already have something, you're walking around with a hatchet, but you can also use it as kind of a splitting wedge. However, as you noticed on mine, I actually have it wrapped with paracord, just standard paracord, military grade paracord. And the reason why is because I actually found the handle slippery. Now, knowing what I know now, I didn't know it then. I should have sanded this down and kind of worked on this handle some to make it more appropriate for my uses, which I will end up doing. However, for right now, it does have paracord on it, and it does a couple of uses. Number one, I carry more cordage into the woods with me, so that's always a good thing. But number two, it acts kind of like as a guard as well as a handle, and it's kind of nice just kind of walking around with it like this. Now, I do not have a mask or a sheath for this yet, and the reason why is because I don't know if I'm going to keep this. I don't know if this is good or not. People ask me if I would recommend it, and it has worked for absolutely every single thing that I have used it for. However, I haven't used it for that much. I have abused the heck out of it, I will tell you that, and it hasn't had any problems as far as that goes. But as far as if it is a really good hatchet or tomahawk, I really couldn't say because I don't have that much experience. I will say that it is carbon steel, so if need be, you hopefully could get some sparks off of it in a fire making type situation, hopefully. But again, I don't know if it's good or not. I'd love to hear if you guys think it is, or if you guys have a different recommendation. But yeah, I absolutely love this thing. Hopefully it doesn't suck. Now, one question that always gets asked is how do I sharpen these tools that I'm using? And for all of my axes and my tomahawk, I use something called a Lansky puck, which you can pick up for about $8 on Amazon. And all it is just a little basically hockey puck shaped kind of sized sharpening stone that I only use water on. I do not use oil on my stones, but there's one side that's kind of fine and one side that's kind of coarse, and that is exactly what I use in a circular motion to sharpen all my axes and everything that I just showed you guys. I don't know if this is fine enough for knives. I do not use this to sharpen my knives, and I haven't seen a lot of people use this to sharpen their knives. I'm sure you could in a emergency situation if you did something really dumb with your knife and you need to put some sort of edge back on it. However, I would probably say this is a little coarse for a really fine, like razor blade kind of sharp edge on your knife. Okay, so next up, I think I'm gonna move on to the timber framing stuff and then maybe some more of the sharpening and the fire making materials. But we're gonna start out with the ones that I get the most questions about, and without a doubt, the most questions are about this draw knife. Now, this is a 10-inch straight blade Timber Tough is the name of the company. I just looked on Amazon and I can't tell you if this is good or not. It has worked fine for me. I will tell you the edge is not that sharp. I actually have to put a new edge on this, and obviously I need to take a little care of these right now. But it is not that sharp out of the box, at least not to my standards of sharpness. So again, I don't know if it's good or not, but I went with it. I think this is about $25 to $30 on Amazon. The folding saw that you guys see me using is the Baco Laplander. Now, I have done a little bit of research on this as much as I can. Again, there's no internet, so the little bit of research, I do know this is a pretty good, reliable saw that a lot of good people who seem like they know what they're talking about use. So I did pick this up and I like it a lot. However, I do need recommendations because I'm going to be felling some trees with nothing more than an axe and hopefully a small saw. So carrying it into the woods, I'm looking at either like a larger type of silky saw or some sort of bow saw. So if you guys have recommendations for those of you who do this type of stuff, please leave that in the comment section down below. Again, I'm looking at a silky saw or a bow saw, and I'd love recommendations on a bow saw. Currently, what you see me using is this carpentry, just wood saw, which works fine. I have a carpentry background and doing that type of stuff, and I like it, but it does not work well with like green woods and a lot of stuff that I'm trying to do. So again, recommendations would be greatly appreciated. Something else that I get tons of questions about are these Scotch Eye Augers. Now, the reason why it's called a Scotch Eye is because of this. Now, all that is an auger bit, which means that you can get through, you can drill holes in wood with it. Now, because of that, you need to make your own little spindle, or I guess handle here, and then you just turn the handle, right? And it just works. Now, I do see a lot of people just take an auger bit and then weld a piece of pipe on. However, I do not have welding skills yet, and I do not have a welder, but until I do, I needed to purchase these, and you can pick them up for about $35. This is a 1-inch auger, and this one I use all the time. This is 5/6. It's smaller than I'd like. I wanted a 1/2 inch, but I could not find it on Amazon. I picked both these up on Amazon, so if you guys are interested, do that. But again, if you are a welder or you have access to welding, then you might as well make your own with just regular auger bits. I'm sure it's cheaper and you might have access to them already. Also, a big part of the timber framing have been chisels. So this is just a standard 1-inch carpenter's chisel that is a carryover from, like I said, some of my other jobs that I used to do. But this is actually a 2-inch for real timber framing chisel. You can't hit it with a metal hammer. It has to have like wooden, or this thing is so sharp that a lot of times you can just push on it and it cuts. This is like a knife blade. Literally, you can't, it's a dangerously sharp item. This will actually run you, I think, about $80 or $90, and this is the Robert Sorby version. Again, bought it off Amazon. Don't know if it's good or not, but it has worked very, very well for my needs, but I have not abused it that much, so I can't say about its toughness or how well it's gonna hold up. Knives. So I actually have 2 everyday carry knives that I guess I kind of switch back and forth because I sweat so much I end up changing my pants a lot, and I do not like going places without a knife for plenty of reasons. Anyway, both are very, very similar. Now, this one is a lot less expensive. This is actually a Kershaw Tonto blade with a little bit of a serrated edge, and I actually like that serrated edge a lot. I actually wish this Benchmade probably had that serrated edge, to be honest with you. However, it's got kind of a grip tape type of handle. This will run you about 60 bucks, and I carried this every single day for a very long time until someone stole it out of my Jeep, which was tragic. And so I ended up buying a replacement because I like it so much. Now, my wife actually bought me this, so I don't know how much it costs, but it is Benchmade, so that means it's probably somewhere in the 150 to like 170 range, as many Benchmade assist opening knives are. Again, just like the Kershaw, it is assist opening, which means you just stick your finger against it and it snaps open, right? So it's quick opening. Again, Tonto blade. You guys have seen me use this almost primarily in these bushcraft videos. I like this a lot. However, I do need a bushcraft knife. Now, this is a situation where I know absolutely nothing. I am taking advice and getting stuff from where I can. However, I would love to hear if you guys are involved in this, if you have a good recommendation for a bushcraft knife. Now, again, I'm just getting involved in this, so I know a lot of handmade custom bushcraft knives are like $600 and it's a one-time buy thing, and I just don't know that I'm in that type of situation right now. I would probably rather look at something in the like $100 to $200 range. So if you guys do have good recommendations for a full tang, high carbon steel, 90-degree back edge thing, you guys know what I'm saying, If you guys have a good recommendation for that, I would love to hear that down below. That would help me out a ton. Okay, and then finally we're gonna get some of these miscellaneous items. So first off, for sharpening those knives, I use Japanese whetstones. Now, this is a technique in itself, learning how to do this, and I'm learning all this, and I've had some mixed results. Some knives I feel like I've messed up and then had to go back and try to put an edge back on. And but these stones have worked very well for me. I can't tell if they're good or not. They have pretty good reviews on Amazon. That's where I picked them up. But they are that brand. I can't say that word. I don't know what it is. But it is a 400 grit, a 1000 grit, a 3000 grit, and an 8000 grit stone. So just going through different things. And then I finish off the sharpening, of course, by stropping my knife. Now, I actually bought this strop a long time ago with some carving knives that you guys have seen some of my carving. You follow my Instagram or some other things. And so this strop was for that. So, but I've been using it the same exact way interchangeably, just because sharp knife is a sharp knife, whether it's for bushcraft or carving. So that is what I'm using to keep those together. Now, as far as cordage that you guys have been seeing in the videos, I use military grade paracord. And I thought that was terrific stuff. But then as I did more and more research, I found out that number 36 bank line actually works a lot better for the things that I'm doing. And that's actually just string that is very high tensile strength string that is tarred. So basically it kind of stays a little better where it's supposed to be. It bites on itself. I actually like this a lot better. That's actually what you guys see me put together this survival bed with. So number 36 bank line, both of these actually cost $20. If I only had to buy one, I would buy this, but I will say both have their usages. And of course you can take this and open it up and break it down to smaller strands and things like that. So if I wasn't on a budget and I had to go with one, I'd probably do the bank line. And then finally, my fire making stuff. So you guys see me toss this around all the time, and this is a hodgepodge of a bunch of things. So from my past, I actually had bought this big chunk of magnesium. As you can see, it isn't really used. I actually used it a little bit to see how useful it is. And honestly, if you know what you're doing with fires, which I don't know what I'm doing with fires, but if you even have as much knowledge as I do, then this thing is not really necessary. It might be if it ends up being super wet wood or super wet tinder and you can't get stuff going, you might need something like that. But it's just basically a piece of magnesium with a little bit of a ferro rod, but this will run out very quickly. I would not recommend doing this. I literally have this on here for some sort of emergency if I can't get something going with just a ferro rod. Now this is an old school, probably like $4 Walmart type of brand ferro rod where it's just a little handle, and this apparently is going to break off, so I should change that out with some duct tape or something like that. But it's just got a little striker with it. This thing actually has worked very well for me, kind of getting things going, but I just replaced it recently with a 6-inch version, which you can pick up for about $10 on Amazon. And this should last obviously much longer. I'm gonna stick some duct tape on this and kind of attach this probably to some sort of sheath of the bushcraft knife that I end up buying, kind of making it one kind of total thing that can fit on my belt. So anyway, that's what I'm currently using for fire. This is just nothing more than a little emergency whistle, because it's never a bad idea to have emergency whistles stashed around, whether it be on your pack or wherever. A whistle can always help, and fire can cause emergencies, so never a bad idea. Anyway, guys, that's pretty much my gear. That is what you guys have seen me using on virtually every single one of these bushcraft and barbell videos. I have really enjoyed making them, and again, I'm trying to learn. I'm learning so much from Dave Canterbury, especially his books. I check out his videos when I'm able to. I actually sent him an email to see if he wanted to do some sort of collaboration, because he's trying to get into working out and I'm trying to get into bushcraft, so I figured maybe we could help each other out. He doesn't live that far away. I have not heard back, so if you guys are friends with him or you do know him, you have his contact somehow, let him know that I'm trying to get that going, because I think having him come on the channel and teach you guys some of these skills as he's teaching me could be really useful for you guys who are getting involved in this or are interested in it. Plus, he is a really positive kind of same type of personality I am. So really cool opportunity. We will see what happens there, but those are my tools, guys. Thank you so much for checking out these videos. They've been such a blast to learn and make and create, and I hope you guys like them. I will be catching up with you guys later in the week, but until I do, go out, do something amazing in your lives. Keep working hard, people. Be nice to each other, and I'll see you then.